Hello, friends. I'm Sarah from Awakened Body, and this is our final warm up lecture for our journey through the dark side. And today's conversation is perhaps the most important conversation because through the insight that the Zohar is going to offer us today, specifically about the dynamics of the dark side here on planet Earth, here in the terrain of Malchut, we're going to understand the role that we as human beings have to play finding light in the darkness, acting as warriors of the light. Because the key mental shift that we've been making together in our journey through the dark side is to come to understand, to bow in a mode of humble gratitude to the reality that the dark side is what makes the dynamics of the 3D world, of the earth plane, possible. We are dependent on it. We are born from it. And though it is also the birthplace of evil, it in and of itself is not inherently bad. It simply is. It is fundamental to existence as we know it, and to the creative process in which the one becomes many. So we're going to begin by just reminding ourselves, when we began our journey through the dark side, we said that according to the Zohar, the dark side finds three primary points of entry into the realm of Yesh, the created world. First, through the void, and this is located in the invisible Sphira Da'at. This is the dark side as canvas of creation, as womb of the world, and the fundamental understanding that in order to create, in order for there to be potential, evolution, change, growth, the prerequisite for all of those dynamics, both in our lives and also in the actions of the creator that birthed the world, excuse me, in order for creation to happen, the prerequisite for creation is privation, lack, absence. There must first be negative space for there to be positive space. And we discuss this as the void. This is the goddess known as Kali in Hindu tradition, and she is at once terrifying and also great mother. Second, in the last many classes, we've been focusing on the dynamics of constriction, the dynamics of the left side, where the fundamental capacity to boundary, specifically to boundary, the divine unconditional love that pours in to the realm of Yesh in order to birth the world, in order to guide, to direct, to boundary chesed, the natural outgrowth of chesed. Chesed needs gvura. We've been talking about gvura, though, as din, judgment, that divine unconditional love, which is intrinsically boundless, needs a counterforce, which is just as powerful, which is the capacity for creating boundaries, erecting boundaries in order to birth the container, which is what gives us eventually the world of mass and matter, 3D reality. But that sphira, which gvura literally means power, but so easily, so naturally, in the world of Yesh, power becomes judgment, which becomes constriction, anger, rage, evil. These are the dynamics of the left side. They are the ways that what we know of as evil, the way that evil comes to be in the world. This is I don't know if we would call it a design flaw or unintended consequence or an unfortunate consequence of the ultimate power of source. The fact that the creator of the world is God, limitless, infinitely powerful, As an outgrowth, we have the dynamics of the left side, of the dark side, of the Sitra Achra, which eventually show up in the world as we know it as evil. Today, in our fifth conversation, we are turning our attention to the topic of klipot, which I'll translate alternatingly as shells or husks. Klipot are how the dark side are very much alive and well distributed, part and parcel of the terrain of Malchut, the earth plane. But what we're going to see today is that they are for our benefit. The reality is that especially because we ourselves are souls in bodies, touching, tasting, feeling the world, learning and growing by virtue of the dynamics of being embodied in a dimension of mass and matter, we cannot abide the light of Source directly, and it's these shells that make it possible. So our key term today is klipa or klipot, which means shells. On a simple layer, I've asked you to bring a piece of fruit, something that you would enjoy eating that has an outer shell or husk to it. So when I peel an orange in modern Hebrew, the word for orange peel is klipa, and when I peel it, I lekalefoto, I peel the peel, just like in English. So simply, a klipa is a peel, but in the language of the Zohar, in the conception of the Zohar, it is an outer shell or husk, and it comes from the dark side. So this is just an orienting quote for us. Come and see. In all the things that the Holy One did, God placed the outer part, the klipa, first. In the dimension of thought, here you need to have in mind Aristotle and Plato, in the world of thought, which is not the world of Malchut, not the world of mass and matter, in the terrain of Chokhmah, the kernel would become first, the inner essence. But in the world of Malchut, God put, indeed, the klipa comes first. In the world of Malchut, God creates first the container, first the outer shell. For each shell comes from the Sitra Achra, and the kernel from the kernel, and the Sitra Achra always appears first, growing and maturing, protecting the fruit. Once it is matured, it is thrown aside. So this is a little bit of a biology lesson, an instruction about how the world of green, how nature on planet Earth works, that according to the Zohar, the shell comes first. The shell, the klipa, is of the dark side. Here, the dark side is created first, and only once there is a safe container for the inner essence, which is divine, the kernel. Only once there's a safe container for the kernel, it is implanted within the husk, thereby creating the thing, in this case, the fruit. And then, as the Zohar tells us, once it is matured, it is thrown aside. So we'll get a little bit more into the dynamics of how this actually works. But this is just a general introduction. We are here today to learn about and to begin to cultivate a sense of gratitude for the reality of klipot here in Malchut, here on the earth plane. So here the Zohar is going to tell us a story of how this all came to be. And this is the story we began with when we started working with this image. So the Zohar is going to teach us, when the Holy One, blessed be, created the world and sought to reveal profundity from secrecy and light from darkness, they were contained one within the other. And so from the light, darkness emerged, and from secrecy, profundity emerged and was revealed. One came out of the other. From goodness, evil emerged, and from mercy, judgment emerged. And one was entirely contained in the other, the good inclination and the evil inclination, right and left, white and black. Everything was interdependent. So this is the guided practice that we worked with in week 1 of our journey together, where we practiced dropping our resistance to the dark side and practicing, noticing, celebrating the reality that there is no light without dark on the earth plane. There is no darkness without light. They are one and the same. One is birthed from the other. And so here, keeping that in mind, we're going to now see exactly how that works in the process of emanation. Now, what's incredible about this text, and I sent it out to you in your warm-up email, so I hope that you took a look at it in writing before I'm going to share it with you here on the screen in just a moment. This is going to be the very story, not just of the creation of our world of mass and matter, but of the birth of the entire terrain of Yish, the cosmos, limitless, vast, well beyond our human conception, is the story of the dance between kernel and shell, kernel and shell. So let's meet the teaching in the Zohar, and then we'll come back and take it apart first in this warm-up lecture, and we'll come back and discuss it together in live session. So please do make a note of any questions that you might have. All right, so this is how the story begins. It was necessary for the Holy One to create everything in the world. The Zoom is blocking my reading of the text. Okay. It was necessary for the Holy One to create everything in the world and to order the world therein. All consists of an inner kernel with several shells covering the kernel, and the whole world is constructed according to this pattern. Above and below, from the mysterious beginning of the highest point down to the lowest of all levels, it is all one within the other and one within the other. So the Zohar here is almost working in a metaphor of stacking Russian dolls. The term that Ken Wilber offers for this is holons, that the entire universe is contained in a grain of sand, but those grains of sand are stacked in increasing levels of complexity. And the Zohar is telling us that that stacking is the interplay of kernel and shell, kernel and shell. So the image here that you're looking at is actually a diagram of the inside of a cell of a living organism. But, what we have here, for example, you have an arrow here pointing to the mitochondria of the cell. So there's fascinating research coming out right now about mitochondria. And we basically know that mitochondria, you might have noticed about me, I'm resistant to any conversations about aliens. It's not a topic that interests me. I believe that it's a category confusion, a term that is a category confusion. Which is to say, what does it mean to be native to here and not native to here, right? I work in the expanse of the cosmos, and certainly there's life all over the place. But mitochondria, biologists know, most likely has an origin outside of the cells of all complex life forms, multi-cell beings on planet Earth. And is probably responsible for a major leap in evolution when the protocell took the mitochondria inside and generated a symbiotic relationship with it. And so what we know for a fact is that mitochondria are so tiny they cannot exist on their own on planet Earth, and yet they are universes unto themselves. Each piece of every cell in your body is a universe unto itself, working together in exquisite symbiosis to create the radical dance of life that we see here on planet Earth and in the cosmos at large. So the Zohar is teaching us that this metaphor of stacking Russian dolls is the way the entire cosmos is created. It's how Source acts in the primary function that we know God to play. This is the work of Chokhmah, bringing order to chaos. Remember, in the beginning of our journey together, we said that what precedes all of existence here is tohu and vohu. These are two categories of the dark side of the void. Together, they create what we colloquially call chaos, and it is from chaos that God imposes order, creating the world of Yesh. The source goes on. So that we find one level is the shell of another, and this other the shell of another. The first point is an inner light, and there was no way of knowing its radiance, its fineness, or its purity, until an extension went out from it. And this point extended to a single palace, which clothes the point with light, and that light could not be known because of its great radiance. The palace, which is the garment for this sealed point, is a light that is beyond measure. Nevertheless, it is not so fine or so pure as the first point, which is hidden and concealed. From this place, an extension from the first light, this extension is a garment for the palace, which is a more fine, pure, and internal light. From here onward, one is extended from the other, and one is closed within the other, so that one is a garment for the other, and this is a garment for another. One is kernel, and the other is shell. And even though it is only garment, it becomes the kernel of another level, and everything is constructed according to this pattern here below, so that mortal man is in this image in the world, kernel and shell, spirit and body, and all is for the well-ordering of the world. Okay, this is a crucial excerpt from the Zohar to understand the Kabbalist view of creation. So first of all, what you have, the diagram on the right-hand side of the screen, is an image. You may or may not have seen this before. What you're seeing here is interpenetrating Kabbalistic trees of life. So inside of the first sphere, you have a full Kabbalistic tree. The colored sphirot balls those are your 10 plus 1, 11 sphirot of the Kabbalistic tree. But you can see here that these Kabbalistic trees are interpenetrating. This is what this text is teaching us, that in the dynamics of creation, the language that the Zohar uses is emanation, that when source, which is infinitely powerful, radiant, incomprehensibly so, when source becomes manifest in the world of Yesh, it does so through this dance of kernel and shell, kernel and shell. But, and this is what's crucial, it is only in the emanation, the clothing, the garmenting, the klipot themselves. It is only when I look and I see the huge, wow, look at that watermelon that is so red and so juicy, but covered in a really thick klipa. Look at that watermelon that came out of that tiny watermelon seed. And what this text is telling me is that I never could have fathomed the potency of what was contained in that seed until I saw the watermelon. The watermelon is a huge klipa. It is encased in material from the dark side, illusion, masking. But it is only when I perceive the klipa that I can know the power of the radiance. And this happens all the way down the line, including to us. So some of you have already started to share stories in live session about how you have found this to be true, that here I find myself drowning in the dynamics of the dark side, and it is only when I am in that pit of darkness that I am able to come to awareness of the potency of the light within me. Now, the most explosive example we have of this is, we are now a nuclear world. Think about the authors of this text precede the understanding of nuclear technology by hundreds of years, right? But we now know, as a point of fact, that contained within an atom is the power of a nuclear explosion, right? And contained in a single atom, unbelievably, incomprehensibly, the power to destroy, a major city. So in this way, the Zohar is teaching us that we are 100% indebted to the world of the dark side, to these kernels and shells, and kernels and shells, that we could not grow if we weren't learning, playing, exploring in this world of shells, of illusion. And what that means for us as warriors of the light, and this is what we're going to talk about in live session, we cannot forget that when we encounter a husk, a shell, a klipot, that it contains unfathomable light. Our power as human beings, in that we are created in the image of the divine. Our power is that we know source. We know life, we know love, we know goodness. We have the ability to stand in awe. We have the ability to remember God. And so it is with that deep inner knowing that we are calibrated to move through this world and to know that I can peel that orange, I can cut into that watermelon, and there will be tremendous fruit inside of it. And I can use the sweetness of that fruit to heal the world, to release the light that's embedded in the klipot, sending it back to source. I have a role to play in it. You have a role to play in it. That's what we will talk about together in live session. Bring your piece of fruit so we can do a little bit of practice with this, and we can actually taste the way that sunlight becomes sweetness, that our bodies are calibrated to experience, to know that feeling of yum, and know that I am part of this incredible dance of creation, of growth and evolution, but that all of that is made possible through the dynamics of the dark side. I'll see you in live session.